Joe Rogan and the Liver King are in a criminal scenario here, and we're going to break this massive one down for you today into just the basics. I'm Andrew Esquire. This is a legal mindset. We teach you to be your own judge, and this is, of course, a fast facts premiere, bringing you the quick and dirty version of the latest in legal news. So let's jump right into it with Joe Rogan versus the Liver King. Now, I know some of you may know this information already, and this may be basic, but in order to make sure we're all on the same page, we're, of course, understanding this is in America. It's going down the great state of Texas. That's the Texas flag there. And most of you guys know who Joe Rogan is. If you don't, perhaps you've been living under a bush. Obviously, he started out on Fear Factor, a very popular show. I remember watching that as a kid, hosting that back in the day. Went on to be a very successful UFC commentator, commenting on the many different UFC fights, being really good friends with Dana White, actually saying that when Dana goes, he's going to stop his commentary. But perhaps the thing he's most well known for, and really what gets us to our criminal scenario, is that he has the #1 podcast, I believe, in the world, but particularly in the United States. These are the stats from Spotify from last year. So even looking at year-old stats, you can see that by far and away, the Joe Rogan Experience, his signature kind of capstone project, the thing that he's really most well known for is this podcast. And by far, he is the king of podcasts. And make no mistake, when you are the king, people are going to try to unseat you. When you are #1 at anything in the world, you have to always deal with everybody coming for you. This is a fact. And sometimes these people will come for you in legal ways. They'll try to engage in competition to be #1. Even big corporations do this. McDonald's, Burger King, try to be the #1 burger selling chain. All sorts of companies do this. And there are ways that are completely legal. But there are also ways that are illegal and criminal to try to become #1. And what we're dealing with today is certainly one of those scenarios. Now, who is our other side of this? You might say if Joe Rogan is the protagonist. So if Joe Rogan is the protagonist, who's the antagonist? Well, the antagonist is none other than the Liver King. Now, this guy is a little bit more obscure than Joe Rogan. Some of you may or may not have heard of the Liver King. He is what you would call, and what a lot of people would call, one of these alpha male influencers or masculinity influencers, or perhaps men's fitness influencer, men's fitness lifestyle influencer, whatever label you want to put on him. That is the Liver King. He's got a very clear motif about his ancestral lifestyle and living like the ancients and the ancestors. And that was his grift for a very, very long time. And the reason why they call him the Liver King is he pushed this diet of, you see him hanging on to a liver there and saying, hey, if you chew down on some liver, maybe some, stuff that our native ancestors, our human ancestors ate, like internal organs, testicles, etc. If you eat that stuff, you're going to be jacked like me. You're going to be fit like me. You're going to have this great lifestyle like me. Well, the problem for the Liver King was that was exposed to be complete nonsense. At least he was exposed to be complete nonsense. Looking at his physique, people said, well, it really doesn't line up, that the only thing you're doing different at your age, given your profile and everything else, people who are far bigger fitness experts than I will ever be, said, hey, this doesn't add up. And it turns out he was geared to the gills. This was a kind of exposed message that got out there that really exposed him for being geared up to the gills on what I believe was $11,000 worth of steroids per month. So this guy was extremely juicy. He was the juiciest of juice. And he was taking what he would describe as an F load. So that is kind of bad when you're trying to promote your product and your brand, is that you are some natural guy, that you are doing this naturally. You're doing this just by eating liver and eating bull testicles or whatever else. And that is giving you massive gains. And obviously after that, his brand suffered damage. And when you have something like this happen, there could be irreparable damage to your brand. I know this as a company attorney. When a big thing can come out, it can permanently be attached to your brand and just sink you, particularly when that brand is you and your body, and people now are aware that that is all just made up. That's all BS. So this has led up to a scenario where he escalated in behavior against Joe Rogan. Why Joe Rogan? Because once again, his brand is going down. He's trying to get attention. He's trying really hard. And he got into a scenario with Joe Rogan. And this is, by the way, after, and there's videos of this out there in longer form on other channels, where he was desperately trying to get in contact with anybody to get on Joe Rogan's show. He wanted to get on that show so bad. He was having his producers reach out, other people reach out, and Rogan just said no. He wasn't interested. He didn't want to have him on. And he could not take no for an answer. So he posted increasingly unchanged videos. This is from a news article on what happened with the lead up to the arrest. So on Monday, this last Monday, MMA Fighting received a copy of the criminal complaint filed against Johnson. Johnson is the Liver King. After an investigation led by police to believe Liver King was making legitimate threats to go after Joe Rogan, which included numerous social media posts challenging Joe Rogan to a fight, and then actually driving to Austin, Texas, where the 57-year-old comedian resides. So let's stop right there. So when you actually do something, when you go out and you take that step, right, that is an actual step. It's a confirmed step, right? It's an open action that you're taking, an overt action, we sometimes say in legal jargon. That is showing that this is not just tough talk. You are taking a step that would lead a reasonable person to believe you are going to try to do this thing. And if you are a mentally unstable person, right, and you're taking these steps, you can see how this is concerning, right? So let's continue here. Police were initially contacted by a member of Rogan's security team after he was made aware of several social media posts made by the Liver King. The videos escalated from numerous threats to actually posting videos documenting that he traveled to Austin, was currently in town to fight Joe Rogan. So he's seeking a fight, and he's taken the action to seek the fight. Rogan's security team asked police to intervene over the escalating nature in Johnson's behavior before he could potentially cause any harm to Joe Rogan or his family. Police stated in the criminal complaint that after viewing a number of Liver King's videos, authorities believe, so law enforcement was believing as well, it wasn't just Joe Rogan, it was law enforcement, that his behaviors exhibited signs of some sort of mental health episode, including that Brian Johnson, the Liver King, could be a danger to himself and others. This is important language. It's magical language. Danger to himself and others. That is a legal standard that triggers a duty for police to act. When anybody is a danger to himself and others, that's magic language. That means police can act to protect the person, the individual themselves, the Liver King, and other people that might be harmed by the Liver King's unhinged actions. So in one particular video identified by police, Johnson is seen standing shirtless, wearing a fox headdress on his head while holding two firearms that appear to be gold-plated AR short barrel rifles. Sorry, I can't help it. That just gives me like a video game villain sort of look there. Like he's got the gold, like this is GoldenEye or something where he's got the two ARs in his hand. But all right, that's neither here nor there. In the video, Johnson, the Liver King, while holding onto the gun, stated, "Joe Rogan, I'm calling you out man to man. I'm picking a fight with you." So it went from a theoretical thing to I am calling you out. I am picking a fight. And of course, this led to an arrest. He got brought in. There's the mugshot. There's the money shot for the Liver King. And when you're a famous person, you will never forget your mugshot. Your mugshot will be everywhere. If you are ever arrested, that mugshot's going to be out everywhere. So make it a good mugshot, right? Make it a good mugshot. All right. So what is he arrested for? Let's get to the educational part. The Texas Penal Code 2207 under terroristic threats, Section A. This is person commits an offense if he threatens to commit. So once again, doesn't have to actually commit, threatens to commit any offense involving violence to any person or property with the intent, so with the mental state, to place any person in fear of imminent serious bodily harm. So that does not mean he has to actually intend to hurt him. That just means he has to place them in fear of harm. And that's what the intent was. The intent was to scare Joe Rogan, to intimidate him into taking action and make him take some sort of action, fight him because he's threatening him, right? Because he's got these gold-plated ARs, because he's, out there going to the same city, because he's followed him to where he lives, right? That's what he did here. It pretty much is a spot-on case under Texas Penal Code 2207. Once again, I'm telling you the law. Not everybody can always agree with these laws. Some people think this shouldn't be illegal. Some people think this, is something that should be allowed. But in Texas, it's not. That's just the Texas law. So what's the punishment for that? Well, that's a Class B misdemeanor, which is a criminal offense that can result in up to 180 days in jail. So about, a couple months in jail there, and a fine of up to $2,000 or both. Now, Liver King claims, now this is only his claim. Law enforcement has not given us, as far as I'm aware, an official statement. But as far as Liver King claims, the charges were quote unquote reduced. What that might mean is that they let him go and just said, hey, we're not gonna pursue this if you just get out of here and you just go about your business. There's lots of reasons why the law enforcement might have done something to de-escalate the situation. Maybe because they thought he's so mentally unhinged that they want to try to get him away and kind of get some space or whatever, or give him a first chance to clean himself up, whatever. Or maybe not make it seem like Liver King's such a big deal and not give him the clout he's looking for, because clearly this is a clout chasing endeavor. So beyond that, the one thing that was issued was a restraining order. Now, what we don't know is we don't know whether the restraining order may contain a requirement that Liver King not mention Rogan's name online. Now, this is controversial because many people do believe that you should be able to mention somebody no matter what, because that's free speech. However, on the balance of free speech is public safety and welfare, right? So you balance that. And the balance is, hey, if somebody has made these terroristic threats, if someone's gone to that level, at some point we got to take their name out of, take your name out of their mouth, right? We have to keep them from speaking about you because they've been terrorizing you. So at a certain point, there needs to be a balance. So some restraining orders in some states can do this. Now, I am not sure whether Joe Rogan's restraining order does this. And my advice to Joe Rogan, Joe, let me go full screen here. Joe, if you're listening right now, Joe, my advice is talk with your lawyers in Texas, see how strong that restraining order can go. If it can go to the point where you can get him to not mention you online, that's Gucci. And that is technically possible, although it may take some pushing, it may take some pressing. You could do this. We've actually seen recently a case with a disgraced Minnesota attorney who got in a fight with his DJ ex-best friend lover, where he is no longer allowed to mention that other person online. So there are instances where this thing can happen. So Joe, go out there, try to press it, try to go as hard as you can and see what you can do with the restraining order. So moving on from that though, what's the future looking like for this? Well, I think that repeated threats are going to keep happening unless that restraining order is as strong as it can be, because the Liver King is seeking clout and validation. And generally it is best, and I exercise this policy, and I think it's a good policy, to publicly ignore clout chasing, but report quietly, silently threats to law enforcement or to a lawyer or whatever else, to do whatever process you want to do silently, so it doesn't give them the clout and attention they want. It doesn't reward them for bad behavior, right? Don't do that publicly. Don't go out there on social media and talk about this guy. Just deal what you're going to deal with your lawyers, deal with it with the law enforcement. Don't give this guy time and attention for his dying brand, because that's what he wants. He wants to salvage his brand after it was totally exposed as a fraud, according to the folks that look at the steroids and say, hey, you're taking steroids. You're saying this is all natural. These things are inconsistent. Other folks have said this. That's damaged his brand. He's trying to repair it. It's a problem for him. It's not Joe Rogan's problem. The last thing is make sure that is as aggressive as possible, a restraining order, because we have proof here. We have actually his Instagram, which shows that really the Liver King is not going to give up. And I'll put this part here for you guys to see, because this is very, very important insofar as he seems to be pretty committed to continuing to speak about Joe Rogan. And this is him even after the arrest on Instagram, even people saying you should delete this, right? Delete this, you goof, right? Watch this.
I'm live. I hope that it's working live, because live is more interesting when you live life in real time. It's great. Thank you for all the prayers, by the way, people praying for me. And you should also pray for yourself, pray for your family, lock that down, fist bump pound, lock it down. You should do all that. I am going to the Capitol. I'm already in the Capitol, but we're going to like Capitol, the location. And I've been given the gift of a restraining order just recently. And so if anybody knows if...
By the way, he considers it a gift because he got some attention, right? So once again, he's kind of, it's feeding that reward cycle. So he's in Austin, by the way, showing he's in Austin where Joe Rogan is, right? Showing he's still there. He hasn't moved on. He hasn't let it go. It can be a problem. Let's continue to finish this.
Someone else whose first name rhymes with blow, whose last name is Rogan. I'm not allowed to say it for copyright. I might sue you about You're not allowed to laugh. I'll sue you. I'll put you in jail on that one too. If anybody knows if he's around the Capitol, there's a restraining. I'm not allowed to say that either. Just let me know.
This is so bad.
He'll be within 200 yards. How do I say this without saying?
So he's clearly got a restraining order against him. And what's going on here is he doesn't understand. He's got some mental stuff going on. He doesn't know what he can do and what he can't do. And he's messing it up. And he's already likely, if he can't say Joe Rogan's name, he's already violated that because he said Rogan, and saying blow Rogan doesn't get you out of that because obviously you know the inference. Everybody knows that the Liver King is referencing Joe Rogan when he says blow Rogan, who's in Austin, right? This is a highly public figure. These are both public figures. Liver King much lower, but both public figures. Everyone knows who that is. You're not hiding the ball there, bro. You're not everybody's getting the still veiled threat that you're making despite having a restraining order. But let's finish.
This is tough. I know now it looked really smart. My name is Liver King. I earned that name. I'm a real king. I'm going to the capital of Austin.
A real king.
With my dogs, axe and mace. I'm inviting my queen to be there with me. I hope she comes. It's not my intent to fight with anybody at that time. I have a different plan there. It's like when you set a precedent in court, people say things like versus, like Rogan versus Liver King. We're going to try and work on that law in principle. Bullies being big.
I don't know what he's talking about at all. Like, that's not a law. Now, that's going to be the topic of this video, right? That's going to be in the title of this video because that's a good video title, but that's not a law, okay? Rogan versus Liver King will never be a law.
Shouldn't be allowed to get away with, not good and true. If it's good and true, you should be able to get away with it. But Rogan versus Liver King, again, it's not what you think. I'm talking about the filmmaker, the funny, the actual genius comedian, good and true. That guy's good and true. I'll pick a funny fight with him. So we're going to go there for that reason. But 200 yards, restrain myself I must do. If anybody, here's how we do it. If anybody's last name is Rogan and you're in the capital of Austin, Texas, like Capitol Hill stuff place, like where they make laws like Rogan versus Liver King, where bullies that are big, that don't just do good and true, are held accountable. Yeah, that's where I'm going to go. So if you don't mind, just don't be there for a little while within 200 yards. Oh, how about this? If your first name starts with a J and the last name is Rogan, announce yourself if you're at Capitol. And
this is the most incoherent rambling ever and makes absolutely no sense. I just, even hearing this, I understand why law enforcement made the interpretation that he might be a danger to himself and others just due to his mental state, that he cannot even get his thoughts together coherently. And that's a legal standard, right? You're looking at, from a law enforcement standpoint, is this person a threat to themselves or others? And, Joe Rogan's got a security team. I'm sure that he would be perfectly fine, right? But this guy could be a genuine threat to himself at this point due to this delusion. And I'll play it a little bit more, but this is just sad.
The actual Capitol, like where it looks really cool. Where is it at? Where are you at, Capitol? That's where we're going. Somewhere. I don't know if I can see it. Yeah, boy! That's how all roads actually bleed when you're barbarian. So we're going to go there, and I invite everyone else to come. The news should be there. But if your first name starts with a J and the last name is Rogan, I actually do invite your family, and I take it back. I invite you to come to meet my family.
Yeah, he got really close with that one, inviting the family. That is escalating that to a threat, not only against Joe Rogan, but now against Joe Rogan's family. So that is escalating it even further. And by the way, I would say, hey, Rogan, you might have a case to expand that restraining order, even based on that comment right there, to include your family. And you might want to investigate that in expanding the scope of that based on this subsequent comment by him, because this is a new comment. This is a new post. This is something fresh. Rogan has not taken action on this yet. He could very well, just based on that comment right there, oh, I'm inviting your family. So he's got it in his head that he may target your family. And I think your family needs to be protected as well from this guy. So let's continue.
That's what I invite. But because of these things.
There it is. The ankle monitor. So that's what I wanted to get to there. He's got an ankle monitor. So this guy strapped up, ankle monitor, still looking for Joe Rogan and his family. Absolutely an issue. But I want to know what you guys think in the comments below. I'll catch you on the next one.